capturing news, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who met with Mr. Trump just yesterday. Mr. Speaker, thanks a lot for coming on.
Good to be with you.
So this is all we know, basically, so far, is this AP report. What do you make of that?
It's an AP report.
Yeah, exactly. You think it's true?
I don't know anything. It's possible.
Yeah.
It would be a little bit unusual because I think Dr. Carlson would be more obviously the Secretary of Health and Human Services since he is a world-class pediatric neurosurgeon. But I think I know that President-elect Trump has a very deep interest in using HUD, which is a place that Jack Kemp had also used, to really focus on helping the inner cities and on helping rebuild parts of America that have had terrible experience under liberal Democrats. And it's conceivable that he appealed to Dr. Carlson to undertake this, because Dr. Carlson is in many ways a remarkable missionary figure. He's a person who really has deep support in the faith-based community and with homeschoolers and others who, starting with his books and his movie, really see him as a figure to look up to. Yeah. So maybe they had, I mean, certainly Ben Carson, anything he did, he would do extraordinarily well. He is a world-class person in his skills and in his dedication, his commitment. And he and his wife are both remarkable people. Certainly the nicest people in politics I've ever met. So what do you think of the idea of Mitt Romney going to the State Department? Well, I mean, I would be concerned. One, I think the vast majority of Trump's supporters will initially be very unhappy and will be reminded of all the things that Romney said over the year. And two, because Romney does represent a very different viewpoint. I mean, authentically, I'm not sure whose Secretary of State he would be. And I think that's something. What do you mean by that? Well, I think Trump would have to really think through. Romney wanted to be in President-elect Trump's job, you know, and to what degree would Romney, once he became Secretary of State, represent himself wandering around the world? I mean, be sort of in the John Kerry tradition of let's go from 5-star hotel to 5-star hotel, having nice gourmet dinners with foreign ministers. And to what extent would he actually represent the kind of tough-minded America first policies that Trump has campaigned on? I mean, Trump's got to have somebody at state who's very tough and very willing to take on foreign leaders and say, wait a second, I'm here to represent the United States of America. So you're saying the if I'm hearing you right, the ideological gulf between Trump and Romney is just too wide, maybe? Well, no, I mean, look, they apparently had a very good meeting on Saturday. It lasted several hours. And I've told the President-elect that if he picks Romney, I'm going to support him. I mean, you know, President-elect Trump deserves to have the team he wants. That's his gamble. But I think he has to really have a very deep understanding. And I can think of 20 other people who would be more naturally compatible with the Trump vision of foreign policy. Right. And so, you know, he's got to make his decision. So what did you make of the meeting with the New York Times today? So for the last year and a half, Trump has said the New York Times is not only biased and dumb, but it's failing. Yeah. And now he meets with them today and refers to the Times as, I think I'm quoting, a jewel. So what is that about? Is that part of a negotiating position, or what would be the purpose of that meeting? I have no idea. I mean, it could just be, you know, he's a New Yorker. Yeah. And the New York, look, when I was a kid, the New York Times was the greatest newspaper in the world. Of course. Without any question. It has tragically, under its current leadership, gone so far to the left and become so dishonest that it is a shadow of its former self. And frankly, both the Times and the Washington Post have been as wrong covering the transition as they were covering the campaign. So I remind people, when you see stuff, just remember, these guys didn't get it during the campaign and they ain't getting it right now. I think it's interesting. It'd be interesting if you get a chance to talk to him, to ask President-elect Trump. You know, he apparently was very tough with the TV networks yesterday. And I don't know, maybe that he got it out of his system, and so by today he was sort of happy. Do you think it gives the Times credibility? And do you think it'll affect their coverage at all? Oh, I doubt it. I mean, look, the New York Times would have to actually be willing to have people who were pro-Trump. Yeah. And I don't know how they would survive in that newsroom. You know, I mean, the tension would be so enormous. So I'm sorry, we're almost out of time. I just got to ask you, since you raised it earlier, you said you could think of 20 people who'd make Secretary of State whose views would comport more closely with Mr. Trump's. Can you name a couple? Sure. Former Senator John Kyle, who would be tremendous. Former Ambassador Bolton, who would be, I think, equally tremendous. I think that you could look, frankly, I thought it was going to be Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah.
I think Rudy has the right personality. I mean, if you want to send somebody into a room tough enough to stand up to foreign leaders, I can't imagine many people who do a better job than Rudy.
I agree with that.
So I think there are a number of people that, Carly Fiorina, I served with Carly on the State Department Transformation Advisory Group under Condi Rice. And Carly did a great job and understands a great deal, having headed a worldwide company. She understands a great deal about the world. So I think you could find a number of first-rate people who would be worth exploring.
Interesting. We'll see. Thanks. We'll save the tape. Speaker, great to see you.
Always fun.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your show.
Thank you.